So this video discusses about how we can be able to find the mean or the average for ungrouped data and also that of the grouped data. Now let's say we have a data value. Let's say we have it as 10, we have 20, 5, 6, let's say 25. Now what is the average of this data value? What is the average or the mean for actually this data value? Now the symbol for average, it is given as the x bar, which is equal to the summation of the x values divided by actually how many are there. In other words, the mean is calculated as the summation of the data values divided by the number of the data values. So now what it means is that we'll have it as should be 10 plus 20 plus 5 plus 6 plus 25, and then divide by how many values are here. We have it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So have divided by 5. So now what is the summation of these values? So we have it as 10 plus, that is 20, and that plus 5 plus 6, and that plus 25, and now we have it as should be a 66, and then divide by 5, and what is that? That is 13.2. 13.2. You know, this is the average of the data values that we have. And how about, let's say, if we have this data, let's say we have 100, and let's say we have 286, and let's say we have 157, and let's say we have 270, and now also let's say we have 1 million. So now what is the average? What is the average of these actually data values? So now principle remains the same. Summation of the data values divided by the number of the data values, that is the same as, then we just have to add the values on top there. And what is that? Now we have it as 100, and that plus 286, and that plus 157, that plus 270, and that plus 18 as well. And that is the same as 993. And divide by how many values are here? We have it as 5. So now which means we'll have it as divide by 5, that is the same as 198.6. So that's how we actually calculate the average for actually ungrouped data. So mind you, if we're saying ungrouped data, it means the data which is not in the groups. And also try this at your actually on time. Let's say we have the data value given as 8, actually 2. We have 5, 10, 15, let's say 20, let's say 50. What is the average of this data value? And also we have should be 6, that is we have 6, 12, 18, let's say have 25, we have 5, 7. What is the average of these actually data values? Now let's say we have this case. Let's say we have the data values given as 2 plus x, 5, let's say 7, 6, let's say 2x. Now given that the average of the data values is given as, let's say, a 6, what is the value of x? So given that the average of the data value is given as 6, what do you think is the value of x? So try to have that. Try to have that at your own time. Let's say we have the data value. Let's say we have the data value given as 5a and then plus 2, 5. And then we have, let's say, 6 minus 2a. And let's say, comma 7. Now, given that the average of this data value is given as, let's say, 10. Now, what is the value of a? And also do the same as well. Try to have that at your own accurate time. Now, let's see on how we can be able to calculate the accurate average or the mean now for the grouped data. So a grouped data, it is the data which is now in form of the groups that has been presented in the group. So now how should you have the average of the actually grouped data? So let's say we have this typical grouped data, and that is we have the intervals, and you also call them as the class intervals, and these are their respective frequencies. So now how should you have the actually average or the mean for this grouped data? You can see that this data has been presented actually in form of the groups, so that's why it is said to be the grouped data. Now how should you have the average for actually the grouped data? So the formula that is being used is given as the average, that is x bar, is given as the summation of fxn divided by the value of n. So what is this formula tries to tell us about? So what it means is that for a given group, that is the frequency times the midpoint, and the plus the frequency of a group times the midpoint, and that plus the frequency of a group times a midpoint until all actually groups has been completely divided by the summation of the frequency, which is the value of n. So what it means is that we have the formula for the average of the grouped data, which is given as the x bar, is equal to the summation of the frequency of a particular group and the times the midpoint, which is given as x subscript m, and that divided by the summation of frequency, or simply say n, where n is the summation of frequencies, so which is the sum of the frequencies. So now how should you have it in that way? So according to the way the formula is, we need to have another column that shows the midpoint, and also another column that shows the summation of the frequency times the midpoints. And for instance, we need to have another column for actually midpoints. And another column will have it which this is, and this is for the midpoint, that is x subscript m, and this is the frequency, and it times the midpoint. We'll have that. So now how do you find the midpoint of the class? So the midpoint of the class is given as the lower value of the class plus the upper value divided by 2. That is the formula for the midpoint of a given class. Now what it means is that for the first class, what is the midpoint? It means we'll have it as 21. So it means we'll have it as a 21 and plus 30, that is given as 51. And what is that divided by 2? We have it as 25.5. 25.5. And what is this times the frequency? And of which times 2, we have it as 51. And for the another group, we have 31 plus, that is 40. And divided by 2, we have it as 35.5. And what is that times 4? That is given as 142. Then we go for the another group, which is should be what? Let me take back. We had it as 31 plus 40, by the way. If you divide by 2, we have it as 35.5, which is okay. And the times 4, that is 142. That's right. Now let's go for the other group. We have it as 41 plus, that is 50. And the divide by 2, we have it as 45.5. And the times the frequency, which is 13, we have it as 591.5. That is enough for the other group, 51 and plus 60. That is divided by 2, we have it as 55.5. And what is that times 10? We have it as 555. And for the other group, that is 61 and plus 70, that is 131 divided by 2, that is 65.5. 65.5. And how about for the other group as well? How about times 2? That is times the frequency. We have it as 131, like that. And how about we have 71 plus 80, and divided by 2. By the way, we have it as 71 and plus 80, and divided by 2, that is 75.5. And times 1, it is the same as 75.5. So that's how we fill in the table, where we calculate the midpoints of the class, that is this times its actually times their respective frequencies. So which means this midpoint times the frequency, which is that, this midpoint times the frequency, which is that, and until you finish them all. The next, this is the summation of the frequency, or which is the same as the value of n, which is equal to, we're going to add the frequencies. That corresponds to, we have 2 plus 4, and plus 30, plus 10, plus let's say 2 and plus 1, which is given as 32. And also we'll have the summation of this column, and that corresponds to the summation of fxm. And what is that? We have it as 51 plus, that is 142 plus 591 point, should be 5 plus, that is 555, and plus 131, and plus 75.5. And what is that we have? It is, that is 1546. So that's what we have. Now that information is how it actually, that information is enough for us to have the average and for the actually grouped data. Now in this case we'll have it as the average is equal to the summation of a for xn and divided by n, which is the same as what we have here. It's 150.46 and divided by n, which is 32. Then I can be able to have that that is divided by 32. We have it as 48.3125. So that's how we find the average and for the grouped data in that case. You also try this at your own time. So try to have the average for that particular data, which is the grouped data. So next time we'll look at how we can be able to. You should have to understand that you should also know how to come up with this, what you call actually frequency, grouped frequency distribution table. Then afterwards, because sometimes you can also be able to come up with this grouped frequency distribution table, and laterwards being able to have the average of the data as we have done it here. So you should know all those aspects. You should also be able to know how to come up with how to present the information in terms of how to group the given data like the way it is here. Then you also be able to have the average of the data itself. That will be for the next video. Thank you.